I don't know why I'm nervous. It's like
I feel like I'm clenching up my ass because I might have to fart.
I just spit my water everywhere. Welcome to the Better Friends podcast. I'm Erich Feist.
And I'm Johnny Corcoran.
And Johnny, tell our listeners why we're doing this podcast and who's it for.
We're doing this podcast because, mainly for us.
Yeah, selfishly.
The main idea is that we feel like we, and probably a lot of other people too, have like really great conversations, but then they end up forgetting the main bulk of it. You might remember some ideas, some like main points, but a lot of the actual content gets forgotten. And we thought it would be cool if we could go back and listen to some of our conversations.
And I mean, I think a lot of people can get value out of the conversations we have because 90% of the conversations Johnny and I have are just so deep and I think could actually impact people in a positive way. That got really deep really fast. Do you remember us talking about the demographic of who we're trying to hit?
I'm 22, you're 22, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I am.
And we've got some wisdom for 22-year-olds. I would say a decent amount. But we're not old men yet. We're not wise with like 30-foot long beards yet.
Yeah. I would say of room to grow.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Our main demographic is going to be, like early college, mid-college, high school.
We've been through it.
Plenty of mistakes were made.
Plenty of mistakes, and growing from them every day, still making mistakes every day, and learning from them. And that's why it's called the Better Friends podcast. We're best friends who are constantly wanting to be better. You'll have to excuse my tuberculosis that I have right now.
Should probably get that checked out.
I've been sick for a little bit. I've been using my nebulizer. If you're someone with asthma, you know the slang for it. It's called nebbing yourself. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. It gets you so high.
Isn't that where new stars are formed?
Yep, I think that's it. I think that's the one.
Oof. That was a little bit rough.
Yeah, whatever. Oh my god.
You have some thoughts on your mind.
Yes, I definitely do. So
lay into it.
Oh, I'm about to give you the beans. So first of all, I'm really into this song called Harlem by The Politics. I really got into this song because I was watching some David Dobrik videos. I'm into YouTube. I'm into watching vloggers. I'm into watching these creators, these creative minds making stuff. I don't know. I got inspired from it. Just even the song, it's so hype, and I'm just so into it, and I'm just like, oh my god! Like last night, I just stayed up super late, which is just not a good choice. But I was like, I was thriving in this song. I was playing it literally on just repeat. I'm gonna get sick of it soon.
Yeah.
But again, I feel inspired because lately I've had a severe lack of motivation, and I've really been trying to get that back because there's been stages in my life that I've gone through in and out of peaks and troughs of motivation, and I've been in a trough for sure, and I'm trying to make my way out of that. And yeah, I mean, with that, something that shows like this is gonna be on my YouTube channel, but everybody knows I was gonna make a video every day, right? For a year, and then just didn't do that, didn't follow through, and I want to get better with my follow through. So my question for you, Johnny, and with that, and something I've been pondering is, for people that aren't feeling motivated, and especially in this state right now, people are coming out of quarantine, at least in our area, but there's still people in cities and other areas that are in quarantine. How do you get the motivation really to do anything?
That's a very good question, and also very difficult to answer.
Yeah, for sure.
I think first off, what you said about having sort of peaks and troughs, sort of mountains and valleys, that seems very natural to me.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think everyone goes through periods where they're feeling very motivated and just doing everything that they want to be doing, the way they want to be doing it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's also very normal to have valleys,
Yeah.
periods of time when you're not doing the things you want to be doing. Your body and your conscious aren't synced up. And even though you know what should be right for you, you don't always do it. And so the question then becomes exactly what you asked. How do you get out of those troughs? I think the answer is probably discipline.
Yeah.
But that is not easy. It's not easy to build.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, I think the most helpful thing is to have a routine, and that also helps build discipline. Essentially, consistency. Doing the same things every day or weekly even. Let's take sleep schedule, for example. If you wake up at the exact same time every single day, you just get used to it. You fall asleep at the you might not fall asleep at the same time because you can sort of power through and blue light's kind of a bitch, but
a little bit.
You get tired at the same time. For example, I've been getting up at somewhere between 3 and like 4 a.m.
2:37 in the morning.
Yeah, for the last probably like month or two. And it's nice. It's nice to have consistency. And it's not hard to do it because I do it all the time.
Mm.
And you sort of build up a momentum. And that momentum can carry you through some of the hard days. And now it's easy for me to talk about sleep because I've kind of figured that out. But it's a lot more difficult on some other things. Like, for example, working out. It's very easy to be consistent working out when you're doing it like every day. But when you slow it down, maybe every week, a couple times a week, it becomes, I feel at least, it becomes a lot harder to stay consistent.
When you're doing it like 2 times a week instead of 5 days a week, 5 to 7, is that what you're saying?
I think, again, the key is the routine. So if you're doing it the same 2 days every week, that's fine.
Okay.
But if you're saying to yourself, I just got to make sure I work out twice this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to work for me because I'll say to myself, I have the whole rest of the week. I don't need to do it now. I could do it on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's not good. That's not a good attitude, and it doesn't work well.
That's something I've really realized too. Yeah, because I try to implement these things to establish discipline and everything like that. But it's like I'll be like, 3 times a week. It's just like they never come. It's
Right.
like, yeah, I think it helps to, like, what you mean, like locking down a time. I'm doing this at this time, this day. Even that specific, or do you mean just how does that work?
It depends what it is. I think waking up and going to bed is something, and I've done a little bit of looking into this, but I have a lot more to figure out and to learn. But for your sleep schedule, it's definitely very healthy for you to have a very consistent thing. So that would be like down to the same like hour or so. But for something like working out, I still think it's good to have it down to like this, like a similar time frame. Like if you worked out every day in the morning, like before work, something like that, that's sort of, it's relative, but it's consistent. I don't think it's necessary to really lock it down to like the minute or the hour and to really schedule yourself.
Yeah.
But it might be helpful to do that at the very beginning. Like when you're trying to form the habit, it might be helpful to like really, really lock it down and schedule yourself out. Especially if you're in sort of a similar situation to what I've been in, and maybe you've been in as well, where you don't really have anything scheduled out. And so your whole day is kind of winging it and being on the fly and being very adaptable, which is perceived as a good thing, but is it really?
Yeah, that's a good point, dude. Like if I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat no sugar. It's like binging basically. It's like if I give in even a little bit, or if I have even like some kind of little leeway, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have this little Hershey's Kiss, and then it's like the floodgates open, everything's gone, all discipline is gone.
Right.
It's like I need to have that set kind of hardcore thing, almost like a program. Like for example, if I'm working out, I think I definitely need to have some kind of program or something like that.
So interestingly, when you were saying that example of the sugar and like eating chocolate is a very good example. But correct me if I'm wrong. Is the thought in your head when you sort of the floodgates open and you end up binging, is the thought in your head, well, I already ruined it. I'm like, I can't hurt it by going off the rails now because I already ruined it. Is that the thought that's in your head?
I think for a lot of people that is the thought. Just eat one and then they're done for. They're done for. It depends what it is for me. Like, for example, if I miss a day of working out and I'm really committed to it, that doesn't mean I'm going to miss the whole rest of the week.
Right.
And I think in with that mindset, it's helpful to have like a rule. For example, this guy named Matt Diavella. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
He's a YouTuber. He's a filmmaker. He's a minimalist. He has a podcast. He talks about minimalism and all this stuff. It's really cool. So Matt Diavella, he has a rule where it's a 2-day rule, and you can miss 2 days of working out, but no more than that. Or and he uses that rule for a lot of other things, like maybe even diet or something like that. I don't know. Depends what someone's vice is, but
Sure. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's about balance. I think an important thing that I've been trying to sort of grapple with is forgiving yourself for that little mistake. And then this might be something that other people struggle with too. Like you said, a lot of people have that thought of like, okay, I'm not going to eat any chocolate.
Yeah.
And then you see that Dove chocolate and it's so small. Surely it wouldn't hurt to just eat one.
Surely.
And then one becomes 2. And then 2 becomes 4. And then suddenly the whole bag is gone.
Exactly.
And you think to yourself, well, shit, I already ate 4. Might as well eat the whole bag, like it's all over.
Oh my god! Diabetes in 5 seconds.
But instead, if you can forgive yourself for having that one and say, oh, well, it was just a little treat. I've been doing really well. That's okay. And I'll be good with just one.
Yeah.
That's a much healthier and I would say more successful attitude to have.
I definitely agree. I personally think willpower, for example. Willpower can't get you through everything. Some people have just such strong willpower, and it's like, oh, that's great. But I think it's good sometimes to not have absolutes. Because that could be negative in some circumstances. And so if there's no leeway, and then, for example, if you're following a workout plan, if you're trying to be on a diet, if you have zero leeway at all, some of the most successful people in fitness have cheat days, because that's they allow that. It's obviously a balance, I think.
I totally agree with you, and I kind of want to go back to our starting question here, which was what can you do to sort of gain that momentum, sort of pick yourself up and get motivated. And you launched it out with saying that you're listening to this song Harlem by The Politics, and that is really firing you up.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great way, is that you can definitely use music and sort of your senses to kind of hype yourself up. And another thing that I like to do is sort of psych myself up in my head. And I know we've talked about this before, but for an example, I was biking a lot this summer. So I would go mountain biking every week with my friend.
Yeah.
And the day that worked for both of us happened to be my leg day. So I would be doing squats, deadlifts, lunges at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning.
Oh my God. And
then I would go mountain biking for an hour at 9:30. and that's something where you need some of that willpower.
Yeah.
Your legs are already tired. You might have jelly legs. But I'm still going out there to go mountain biking with my boy. And so I would get in my own head, say to myself, nobody else is out here biking on leg day. Nobody else is grinding like you right now. It's 80 degrees outside. We're working.
Nobody else is out here leisurely biking
Exactly.
around and shit.
Pumping the legs, fire in the eyes. You're gripping the handlebars like you're riding for dear life.
That is my
Get to the
favorite
top
thing.
of that hill. Yes!
Oh my god.
Nobody else!
Been waiting for that. Nobody else out here.
So if you can figure yourself out a little, get in your own head. Think of what psychs you up. That can definitely help you get out of that sort of trough of, man, I just don't want to do anything. I just want to be lazy.
One thing I saw, and I was talking to someone I know, and they'd said, so with motivation, and this is something I'd never thought of before. Basically, I was telling my wife, like, I'm trying to break habits of, like, just wasting time on my phone, doing other things,
Right.
like getting the motivation to do things. And basically what he talked about was how, with any habit, like you said, it takes consistent use over time to build that. And motivation comes once you start seeing the results of your consistency and your discipline with that. And so
Yeah.
once you see the results, the motivation can drive you. When we talk about trying to get that motivation, and you talked about the discipline, you nailed it, because now I'm thinking, I think that you can't really have, like, obviously you don't have motivation because you haven't done anything.
Right.
That you need to just, like, push through and just, like, do something.
Right. I totally agree with you. I actually think one of the ways that, like, for example, that I've gotten out of that trough before, like the super low valleys.
Yeah.
The valleys where you've been sort of like kind of down on yourself and not doing anything for a long time.
Uh-huh.
Like we're talking months, years maybe.
Yeah.
Eventually, you feel so bad about yourself. You're like, I gotta do something to change.
Mhm.
And then that's when you sort of have to really grind and get that discipline going. When
Yeah.
you're down on yourself enough to commit to something, and a good way of keeping yourself honest is to do it with someone else. Someone who will hold you accountable. Because we are very good, or at least I know I'm very good at allowing myself to sort of slip and have, you know, fall off the rails. But if you're doing it with someone else, for example, the gym. If you're going to the gym with the same guy, you like make plans to go at the same day like every week, and you guys can sort of play off each other and fire each other up, and that can also help.
I agree. That's the same for me. I had this workout partner in college,
Sure.
good friend of mine, lover, still lover. We would run almost every day, like 2 to 3 times a week. There'd be days I'm just like, oh my god, I don't want to get up, but I'm also like, oh, I don't want to disappoint her. Vice versa,
Right.
myself and her, like if she wasn't motivated, then she would tell me, like once we were like running, she's like, oh my god, I was hoping you weren't gonna come knock on my door. Like, surprise, bitch! You're so right about that. Absolutely.
So what it really boils down to, when you're feeling low, and you know that you've been slipping, you've not been doing what you need to be doing, how do you get out of it? The first thing is discipline. You got to realize, you got to be conscious of it, and you have to want to make the change. And then you have to commit to a plan. Something like doing whatever you need to do, doing it consistently, same time of day, every day, for a while, so you can build up momentum. And then like what you said, when you start doing that and you see the results, it gives you the motivation to continue doing it. Try to do it with someone else so you can keep each other accountable. And don't be afraid to use outside factors like music, finding a song that really pumps you up, even other stuff too, like listening to a really informative podcast that will help you out.
Yeah, like Better Friends. A couple things I wanted to throw in there too. With that, for example, if you're working out or something like that, goals are so important too, or lists, writing things down. That's, I think, a whole other podcast in itself doing that. So I'm not going to get into that because this could go 3 hours. So, like progress pics for working out. Like if you're someone who's been struggling with working out, you just like, dude, work out. Like do 30 push-ups a day, every day for 3 weeks. Take a picture before, take a picture after. you're going to see some definition, you're going to see some muscle growth. Like, even if you don't change anything, if you just keep the same diet and everything like that, no matter who you are, pretty positive there's going to be some kind of definition there. Like, if you want to get some pics. Another strategy, too, like, with that is, like you said, it's kind of acknowledging where you're at right now and being like, okay, I'm at this right now. Like, look at where is my life going to keep going if I don't do anything? Because that's something that has helped me, too. Looking at, man, like, I could really mess up my life right now if I don't make a change.
At every moment, you're at a crossroads. And if you can think of the goal, what you're aiming for, and also the worst case scenario, and what you know would happen if you made the worst decisions, that can definitely be very helpful in putting it into perspective of what you need to be doing.
Nailed it. Absolutely crushed it.
Thank you for listening to the Better Friends podcast. If you liked it, leave a like. If there's something you want us to talk about or some topic that you'd be interested in, leave a comment down below. And we'll hope to see you again in the next installment of the Better Friends podcast.